Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I'm lucky enough to chat with actor Jordan Dean about his role as Harry in the Lifetime movie Harry and Meghan Escaping the Palace, out now. We discuss the difficulty in playing a living public figure, especially one associated with the royal family, in situations that are such recent history, and how wardrobe and sets help deepen his connection to the character. We also chat about his appearance on one of my favorite shows of recent years, The Amazing High Maintenance. It's a wonderful chat, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, Jordan.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks so much for making time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, we're here to mostly talk today about Harry and Meghan escaping the palace. I was excited to talk to you both because I feel like there's several interesting things about getting to take on that role. It's one that they've recast between each film, which is a fun kind of Bond type thing to get to pick up from a previous actor. But also, there's something about playing a historical figure that I always associate with being at least a generation outside of my lifetime. And the only time that we see current news political figures done like that is frequently SNL or impersonations or jokingly. And I feel like it had to have been a particularly interesting challenge as an actor to find the character within someone who could so easily be a caricature. Can you talk a little bit about getting the role and then finding a way to make it a role and not accidentally fall into a trope?
Yeah. Well, getting the role was really unique because I was moving at the time, and there was a pandemic obviously going on. So I was in my apartment by myself, surrounded by boxes, and no one was going in my apartment. So I was auditioning with my mom on Zoom, playing Meghan, and basically reading to a wall. So that was an interesting start of the process. I'm sort of just going with the flow. And then when I got the role, I think my first reaction was apprehension, to be completely honest, because he, the moments in the story are they've affected someone who's alive and who's essentially a peer, and there's a certain amount of specificity and a certain amount of specificity that you need when you're handling these topics that the film covers, and just trying to do it justice was my would I be able to do it justice? Would I be able to get the essence of Harry and not, like you said, create a parody or sort of an impression or something akin to like an SNL skit or something like that? Because I think that's what people may be expecting, and that's just wasn't my approach from day one.
Well, and I would think a lot of that would come in trusting that you're not the only person responsible for this, and that there's going to be a great script. One of the things that strikes me about these productions particularly is the how much work the costume department and the sets departments are doing to help build that world around you. I know you've done stage work where you're going to work with a certain level of abstraction in your sets or in your costumes, and the audience is going to roll with it. And even on television productions, I'm sure out of my sight line, there's equipment and things that could pop the bubble for you. But can you talk a bit about taking it from, doing this against a wall to having the suits right for the Oprah interview and having that world kind of create around you?
Yeah, it definitely helps. That's for sure. I mean, having the world, all those things help inform the character. The military outfits help, they change how you walk, how you feel in a room, how you deliver lines, how much breath you can have, when speaking. So all of those things are essentially like little gifts that you can use as an actor to get you in the world and that can affect your performance. So in that sense, it's so helpful. You can, it's in front of you. You don't have to use as much imagination as you do in perhaps like a play. But yeah, no, I think, his outfits sort of change. He sort of loosens up in the film and sort of takes control of his story. And I think that the costume sort of reflected that as well. So that's all. It's just helpful. It helps you get into the scene and add, again, like that specificity to each scene. So yeah, it's a real again, it's a gift as an actor to have all that right in front of you.
In high school, like everybody else, I had a teacher who tried to get me into Shakespeare, and it just didn't click. And then I had later on, I had a roommate in college who was just really obsessive about Shakespeare, and finally one weekend of like, man, why do you keep watching these? What's good about this? And finally won me over on it. So I'm always interested to hear. I'm sure as an actor, you had more Shakespeare thrown at you than probably the average person. But do you remember? Was there a time when it clicked of wow, this is amazing to say in a way that makes the bell ring, that makes it right?
Did you say Shakespeare?
Yes. Yeah.
Like to speak Shakespeare?
Oh, just Shakespeare.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my parents went to high school of performing arts, and their close friend was an actor, Keith David. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. You know that his voice and his control of language is astounding. It's amazing. And I worked with him when I was applying to school, and I had to do a bunch of Shakespeare monologues. And watching him dive into the text before I'd even gone to Carnegie Mellon and really studied Shakespeare, and I did Shakespeare in high school, but watching him explore text and use the text and mine the text for everything it's worth, and his control of his voice and the amount of depth that's in the words. You have a lot of keys on the keyboard, if you will, to play. But watching him specifically was something that really inspired me because of the beauty in it, and the expressiveness in it, and the creativity in it, and all the places you can go emotionally in just a single line of speech with Shakespeare. And I've had the benefit of working with actors like Sir Kenneth Branagh and Brian Bedford, and just really amazing actors and performers who always come back to Shakespeare, who always go back to the stage, because it's the best way to. It's like training. It's like the way a baseball player goes to training camp. You're always on your toes when it comes to working on that kind of text.
Yeah. I always feel like there's always something more to that you could push, no matter how good you are at doing Hamlet. You could always look at it again.
Yeah.
I know even Brennan now could look at Hamlet again and go, I could find something else.
Yeah. And that's like, I mean, what more can you ask for? And in theater, if you're doing a theater, theatrical version of it, you get a chance to.
Yeah.
The next night or later that day, and that's the fun of it and the joy of it. Yeah, like there's always more to mine from and explore. And in theater, you get another crack at it.
When I first was doing research for this interview, the role that you, for better or worse, the role that you will always be for me is Scott from High Maintenance.
Oh yeah.
You are in. You're in 2 episodes, but you are in. I think even Vulture ranks it as maybe one of the weirdest in the series. There are no bad High Maintenance episodes, in my opinion. That show's just fantastic. And I feel like it's maybe a more indie rite of passage in New York than even being on Law and Order as an early actor. Can you talk a little bit about getting involved with that episode, and how was the shock for you? I don't know, I don't want to spoil it for folks at home, but your character has a rather odd regimen for their day, doing the Uberman sleeping, and then it takes a real left turn that is spectacular. Can you talk a little bit about getting into that?
Spoil it. Yeah, sure. I mean, I knew Katya and Ben and Russell Gregory, one of the producers of the show, for a little bit prior. Katya was in casting, so I knew her at the time from that, and she knew me from auditioning for her at the time. So when I got the call from Russell, he said, there's this new show that I'm producing. Ben and Katya wrote this part, and we think you would be perfect for it. And then when I got the script, I was like, you thought I'd be perfect for this? Really? Okay. What about me? Maybe make you think that. And I think it is that turn at the end that, you having me in that role would lead the audience a certain way and then give them something that they weren't expecting. And they also, knew I loved sports and athletics and stuff like that. So they're like, I think the two things here really fit you as an actor really well. But yeah, no, I like shooting. That was such a great experience for me to work with them and to work with Russell and Emmy and the rest of the crew. It was like, you really felt like you were working on something special that was going to be pretty groundbreaking, which it turned out to be.
Yeah.
But I think it was partly because they had this creative freedom, where they were creating the stories that they wanted to tell that felt real to them. And I think that really resonated with audiences, and rightly so.
Yeah, it's very rare I've seen a show that felt so sure of who it was from the jump, and then stayed that even when moving to an HBO production. I was really impressed with the whole thing, but I absolutely loved the Gossip episode.
Thanks. Yeah, whatever.
I know you had I think everybody probably came to a different appreciation of doctors and nurses over the last year, but you went into 2020 perhaps with a different appreciation for them. You came out of a heart surgery just before going into the pandemic. Is that right?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, I'm sure your regimen was not Uberman, but can you talk a little bit about trying to do recovery during a time when maybe emotional stress was, it was definitely a higher level for everybody?
Yeah, it definitely makes things more challenging. Fortunately, I've fully recovered, but recovery is like a physical and mental journey. Again, it's like going into it, there's nothing you can really do to prep yourself. But it's funny that, other than being present, which as an actor is like, the name of the game. So it's weird how those two things actually, being an actor and actually going through something like open heart surgery, actually, I benefited from being an actor going into that, and after that, trying to stay present and not worry about what's going to happen, or will I make it? What will be the end result? Will I be the same? Will I feel the same? And I'm grateful that I came out the other end, and I feel great, and I don't have these aneurysms anymore. But yeah, I think it also gives you an appreciation for being alive and for getting a chance to work on roles and work with other actors and artists in a way that you can't have before going through something like that. and it also, like, when you're on set, it I don't know, I felt more grounded because I had gone through this, life-changing experience. I felt present in a way that I hadn't felt before. So it's really strange how that actually, like, affected my work and my approach to work, in a very healthy and, like, strangely productive way.
Yeah, while I would hope that, actors don't need to, you don't need to be an alcoholic to play an alcoholic.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, I would think that part of your skill set involves how much emotional room you have in the landscape to play in. And there's no way that an experience like that wouldn't, for better or worse, kick those edges out further.
Yeah.
And
it's weird. Yeah.
You and a couple of your Carnegie Mellon alum also put together the Clear Day project. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, we when the pandemic was hitting New York really hard, I was watching, these stories about nurses and doctors and all the staff and what they were going through, and I just felt so, I had to do something. The team at Mount Sinai saved my life, and I was talking to Kirsty Bryan, who's a fantastic actress, also Carnegie Mellon alum, and Dan Amboyer, another great actor and friend. And I told them about wanting to do something. They just jumped right in, and they were just, like, so instrumental in helping me organize it. And so essentially what we did was we got all our friends and contacts together, all our performers and other actors and dancers and artists, and we asked them to make these videos, basically whatever they want, anything that would help the staff at Mount Sinai and other hospitals around the country get through their day. And what we received was, so beautiful and so amazing, and I think it really had an impact on the staff, because we were hearing from them directly, and I was talking to them, post surgery, so I was hearing from them all the time, and knowing that it did anything, to make their day a little better was just a good feeling, and it was just, playing our part, just like so many other people during that time, and this time, that we're still going through.
Well, I'm so glad that you fully recovered and are doing great. Folks can go see you in Harry and Meghan Escaping the Palace right now on Lifetime. I believe it's out currently, and or will be by this. Thank you so much for making time today. I really appreciate it. I feel like everybody should go watch all of High Maintenance just whenever. But thank you so much for making time.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great talking to you.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Take care.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.